Hi, this is Jennie Walker, and welcome to Closet Conversations. It's a brand new year, 2019, and I'm back on it to talk all about the resale and consignment industry as I understand it and as I experience it every day as a stylist, reseller, and co-owner of a luxury consignment shop, Walker Viden Luxury Consignment in Pasadena, California. Now, I haven't been putting out any content because, one, I was traveling, and two, then I got sick, and I had lost my voice, and I'm still not 100%, but I am now back on it and wanted to share with you an update on the topic of Goodwill bins. Now, the Goodwill bins podcast I did got a very large number of listens, and so I figure this is a topic people are interested in. So I'd reported on my very first experience at the Goodwill bins in Los Angeles, and since that time I have been back to the Goodwill bins twice in LA. But then when I went to Texas for the Christmas holiday, I did go to the Austin, Texas, one of the bins there, and had that experience. And since then, I have been back to the LA bins one more time in January since then. So I just want to tell you about those experiences. Now, I'm kind of fascinated by the bins. It is in no way a primary source of inventory for me at all. They certainly don't have the kinds of things that I source for styling and red carpet and things like that. But as someone who just absolutely loves the industry and learning all about it, I was very interested and intrigued to go to the bins to see just what could I find there. And so my experience after the two other times I went in LA were very lackluster. I mean, I didn't stay too long. I went with my friend Michael, and we, probably stayed 2 hours, and it just didn't seem like any big deal. And I'm like, I don't know what all the fuss is about, because these bins are really picked over, and there just wasn't, like, literally quantity of items in these bins wasn't very much. And you definitely can always walk away with something interesting or something that's undervalued that you think you can do something with. But really, really cool and interesting pieces, that was not anything I was finding before the end of the year. When I went to Texas in December, and was the last week in December, and my niece was kind enough to take me to Austin a few times, and one of the times we went to the bins, and it was just awful. And what made it was so much worse than what I could imagine, because I'd only had the experience of the LA bins, but the cleanliness factor was 50% worse in terms of cleanliness. And I was trying to figure out why that is. They have at the bins I went to a place where you can basically hang out all day, just literally be there all day, and they serve I'll call it light food. I didn't go over to see, but maybe chips, soda, maybe there's hot dogs, but you could actually eat there, and there's a place to sit down. So, I think that because of that, people are they're making it comfortable for you in order to stay there longer. And anyway, so I went there, and it was just nothing. I mean, and there was very few brands to be seen in any condition there. And, obviously Austin is a different market than LA. And perhaps, I think with all the bins that you're going to see a direct result in what's in the bins, resulting from the community that surrounds it and from where they get their inventory. But there was very, 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 very little that I saw at all that was designer or even name brand or mall brand, anything. As a matter of fact, at that bins, I bought 4 little things just because I was there. So I bought a Michael Stars olive green military linen vest, and I bought a pair of denim shorts. I think they had stars and stripes on them, or maybe they were distressed with studs. I don't remember. Like a Forever 21. I bought a puzzle. I bought this really cute puzzle because my sister owns horses and a horse farm and a stable, and trains horses all out in Belton, Texas, and so there was this game called Horseopoly, which is basically Monopoly ripoff, and with horses. Brand new in the box. I bought it for her, and I'm like, well, her little young students would like that. And then I bought a swimsuit, a Ralph Lauren polo, navy blue with yellow, like, piping swimsuit, which, got to be washed. That thing was a mess. And so those are the 4 things I bought. And I spent $4 and something. And it was all just trash. I mean, really, I didn't need to buy any of it. But just because I was there and wanted to experience it. And my niece was horrified because it was just filthy in there. Just like, I don't know, just the level of cleanliness was not anywhere near the LA. And I'm not even saying that LA is super clean. But like, I put my hands in bins where things were absolutely wet or nasty. Just, And I saw something at the bins in Austin I hadn't seen at the one in LA where they had brought out, I don't know, like 2, 4, 6 or 8 bins of hard goods. And everybody was lined up waiting to get in. And they were like, no running, and I could, trying to inform everyone to behave. And so then people just like maniacs and animals go up to all of these bins and just start, going through. And it seems so different when it's hard goods versus soft goods. There's a veracity to it that's really interesting. That's where I got my Horseopoly unopened game, by the way, was during that. I just sort of walked over there and waited for an opening. But yeah, the Austin bins, I didn't feel like there was anything there. But a lot of the same things you saw where people had buggies that were just literally looked like compactors had come in and taken the clothing and just squished it all down and filled all the way to the top where it's covered with sheets, and there's people just sort of hanging around and you don't know what they're waiting for because they're not in line waiting to get to the bins. They're just sort of there, and so you don't know what they're waiting for. A lot of people waiting around, but just the quality of merchandise there, I didn't really find anything. Now, I think we all know with something like the bins, it's hit or miss. You're going to get lucky or you're not. You're never going to know. But that was not $4 well spent by any means. And then I give my sister the game, the Horseopoly. She goes, "Oh, that's so cute. I already have one." And I'm like, "Great." So I said, "Well, now you have 2." So I spent $2 on a board game that she didn't need. But oh well. So that was the Austin bins. Now the LA bins, when I went to after I'd gotten back, it was first week in January. Now this was a different story, and this was the first time I ever thought there was anything to the bins. Is because so many people had donated for the end of the year of the tax season and getting the receipt and cleaning out before the end of the year, and so they had what I will assume is just an overwhelming amount of inventory come in all at once. And so the bins were what I would like to call just full. They were all just like really full. And it was the first time I had just seen just the quantity of items in each of the bins. Now, part of it, they were full maybe because it's a different time of year in terms of people being there to buy, but to me it seemed like there were even more people there that day I went than before, and yet it was super, super full. So my feeling is that there's just so much more merch that they're putting out here this January after the holidays that the sheer quantity and volume of product allowed there to be a lot left over. And this haul that I had in January I spent $72. It was the best haul that I had ever had. Best as in the best of the worst, the best of what I could find there, but not necessarily like the best thing in the world by any means. And then when I got back and I'm going through it, I found one thing that had like, that my friend Michael had kind of thrown it last minute. I didn't get a chance to examine it. It was like completely trashed and pills, so that has to go in the trash. And then something I was trying to steam today, I pulled the thread and the whole thing like fell apart. A Bailey 44 green sweater that I was so excited to get, and I ruined it. I ruined it today. Like that's 2 pieces I'm going to throw out. But a lot of the other things that I got, one was a designer fur felt hat, I think rabbit fur. And I don't have any of this in front of me, so I'm not going to tell you brands, but I found that. I found some interesting, clothing, and I found something really cool that ended up given to someone that we met there, which was a vintage 1980s American Airlines sweatshirt, white with just stains all over it. Like the whole thing looked like it'd been wrapped around an acid battery or something. Like it was just riddled with horribleness all over it. But the graphic was so cool, and I was going to buy it and simply just try to bleach it out or see if I could fix it. But I met this one woman there, and so we had been chatting, and she admired the shirt, and because she'd given me something, I think earlier, I'm like, here, why don't you take this? She's like, really? And so I just gave it to her because, again, I didn't need anything I bought. And I would need a 1980s American Airlines ruined sweatshirt, like a hole in the head. But I would have bought it. I would have tried to fix it. And I would have absolutely put it online to sell it to a collector because it was quite awesome and so 80s. But again, whatever, because there's always something else. Like, this is the thing I've learned in sourcing. No matter where you go, no matter when you go, no matter what you find, there's always something else. And just when you think you have found the best you could ever possibly acquire in your life, something better comes along. So I know that there's no ceiling on it. There's no limit. It's just, it's part of the problem. I mean, part of the problem is this overabundance of stuff that already exists in the world. And, in some ways going through it is a treasure hunt. In other ways, you feel like it's a rescue mission, to rescue something special from a life in a landfill or a life somewhere else. But I will tell you one thing that I saw that I have never seen before at the LA bins, and I was astonished, seriously. Now I don't deal in any like hard goods. I don't deal in like CDs or books. Not that I don't have a few, but I just don't deal in that. I don't even look at it. I don't know. I'm not researched or knowledgeable on it. But we were there, and they were bringing out new CDs and books, and we were too far away, and I started hearing this noise that I didn't recognize. And what was happening is that people who were into that had gathered around this thing and were literally, okay, if you can imagine, literally grabbing without looking, is literally like grabbing as many CDs and books as possible in their hands and dumping it into a cart without even looking at it. The sound was just, it was worse than like a New York, company trying to pick up the trash. Like, it was unbelievable. Like, just the scraping sound of like grabbing 50 of these things and dumping them in their cart, and then grabbing 50 more and then just dumping it. And it's like every person all around these bins that were doing it. I had never seen that before. And I'm like, okay, who are these people that don't need to see what they're getting, whose only mission in that moment is to grab as much of it as possible and put it in their bag and claim it and buy it by the pound? So one can only assume they are resellers, and one can only assume that they are, reselling potentially on an Amazon or, something like that, or an eBay, and who knows where or how, but that they're reselling, and that it really doesn't matter what they get, because they're going to go through it one at a time, pick out the good stuff, dump the rest that isn't sellable, and move on. But just to see it, and I'm glad it's not anything I'm into, because I would not have wanted to be anywhere near these people, because I feel like I'd have gotten my lights punched out if I'd have gotten too close to them or something. Because it was fierce, it was ferocious, it was remarkable, and that has stayed with me. So anyway, I had a much better experience. Like, the one hat that I bought, seriously, is probably a $350, $400 hat. And of course I wish I had it in front of me now, but, and I spent, $72, $73 at the bins. And so it isn't about whether or not I found anything. I didn't need anything that I bought. Not one thing in all of that. But I think you kind of get into the moment and you're like, okay, there's nothing here I probably can't afford to buy since it's by the pound. So let me just put all this stuff in here. And then at the end, I find myself purging and trying to go through everything and make sure it's not damaged and throwing out things I really don't need. And it's really, that's the moment of purging and selecting and ensuring that what you have is what you really want. To me, that is where I've been the least successful, because I'm usually rushed because I'm with my friend Michael, who always has to go at a certain time to do other things. I'm not there on my own. I haven't driven there, and I don't have all day by myself to deal with this. So I'm with another person, so that puts me under a little bit of pressure. And I feel like I get like nervous, and I'm like, oh my gosh, do I want to buy this? Do I not? And half the time after I pick stuff, the minute I put it back, someone swoops it up. Like no matter where I am, whether it's the bins, regular thrift shop, consignment shop, I could be anywhere, an outlet mall. The minute I've selected something and put it back, someone notoriously comes behind me and scoops it up. So either I've put really good energy around it or I have a good eye, or both, or I don't know. Maybe it's just, I don't know what it means, but I always see that. So that's why I get a little nervous. Like, I don't know if I want to put this back, because I know as soon as I do, someone's going to come along and buy it. So now it's sort of like after this second time where I spent all that money and I have all this stuff, and I didn't need any of it. It's like, okay, I'm going to probably go back on Monday, and my friend Michael and I will probably go. Again, there's not going to be really a budget. I mean, you'd have to buy a lot of stuff to spend $100 there. So I'll go again, and I'll pick out some stuff. And the challenge for me is going to be not to just buy it because it's there. Just not to buy it, just to buy it. Because, again, it's almost like I'm really only there for fun. I don't expect to find anything. That's not how I source the really amazing things that I sell in my JennieGirl's closet. That's where I do my styling. I mean, I have an Alice and Olivia limited edition skirt by Jean-Michel Basquiat and Basquiat. I keep butchering his name. Basquiat. And it's a limited edition. I did not find that anywhere remotely at a place like that. But I have this thing, and it's amazing. And I have another like Alice and Olivia. Is that it? Yeah, Alice and Olivia black patent leather bomber jacket that says badass on the back. Brand one new with tags. I've got two of those that I sourced out in Texas. Again, at a very interesting place. Certainly not the bins. And I've got that up on social media, and I've already had inquiries about buying those. So I really deal in higher end, much higher end things, like Chanel and Louis Vuitton, and really interesting pieces. Like I just sold I think it was a John Bartlett cropped top in all with Swarovski crystals all over it, vintage, probably from early 2000s. And I sold that, I think 2 days ago. So, I mean, those are the kinds of things I'm really looking for. My biggest problem in sourcing is that the stores that have that stuff are really not sitting here in Pasadena. And there's only 3 or 4 consignment shops in Pasadena. And it's really not comfortable for me to source within the stores in my own area. I don't feel comfortable with that, even though there's nothing wrong with it. I just, it's kind of weird. Hi, I'm in the store down the street. Can I come in there and shop from you? Let me see what bargains you have. So I don't really do that. I usually go when I'm out of town, like in Santa Monica, or, in LA, or when I'm really out of town, like in New York or Atlanta, then I can source. I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, so back to the Goodwill bin. So, my friend who went with me, Michael, he was buying linens and things that he was going to, obviously wash and refurbish. Because he, I think he does some sort of Airbnb kind of stuff, and had said that the last person had ruined a bunch of stuff in his place and needed something quickly because someone else was coming in, and so he bought a number of things out there for that. He was going to, refurbish and freshen up. But for me, I don't know. For me, I don't know. It's just, it's like a novelty to go. I think it's possible to see anything in the bins because the variety of stuff that's out there is so bizarre. Because you're getting stuff from all these different Goodwill bins, everything from the vintage American Airlines sweatshirt to, the rabbit fur hat that's designer, I don't even know what all I saw. I mean, from brands that are known to unknown brands to things that are truly vintage, like old, like wool sailor shirts to vintage dresses to just horrible linens to H&M or Forever 21 or, some random piece of Ellen Tracy to a Donna Karan to something really exciting. Like, it's just all over the place. And I think it's for someone who has a lot of time. I think that there is potential to find good things there. I know people that go, it's their daily source. I can see how that would be possible. And that you really have to be super focused. Because if you're not focused, you're going to get a whole bunch of stuff like I did and go home and go, why did I buy all this stuff? One was so I could have something to talk about on the podcast. But now I'm sitting here with, 10, 15 pounds of stuff. I don't even know how much it would be. Sitting in my apartment that I've got to find something to do with. And yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those in the moment things where it seems a lot more interesting in the moment. And then you go home and you're like, oh, I don't know why I did that. It's like having too many beers or something. But yeah, so I think it's, the Goodwill bins are an interesting thing to try, depending on what you're sourcing, depending on who your market is, what you're trying to find. I think you've got to be absolutely patient. You've got to not mind digging through. And because this stuff is all twisted up into each other, it's like getting a workout. It's like being at the gym, going through these mounds of clothes. And I think if you're patient, I think if you're focused, if you know what you want, what you're looking for, you can absolutely find something at random if you go enough. And certainly the price will always be right. And that's it. That was my little trip to the bins again. So I will definitely, when I get to New York the next time, go to the New York bins, which I hear are pretty amazing. Which is so crazy because I lived there for 16 years and I never went to the bins. I didn't know about them until that last year I was there. And I was never quite sure how to get to where they were. And I didn't really, because I didn't have a car and I wasn't sure how I would do all that. Now I would just take a subway there and Uber it back. But I just wasn't sure how to go about it. But now that I've been, I know what to expect. I'm not afraid of it. I'm not worried about getting a card or anything like that. I mean, you just go and see what you find and have fun. Now, my friend Michael and I, we have so much fun when we're going. This is hilarious. So he is a musician, a songwriter, and a singer, as am I. But he's got one of these amazing voices that's like this big booming voice. And so every time we go, we're just joking. I mean, I told him we needed to come up with a song to start singing every time we source something really amazing in there. And so he started, he was singing each time. Like, I think they were Christmas songs before the holidays. And then when we got back, he was making a phone call and singing a happy birthday to someone for a birthday gift. And he got overheard by this woman who's a casting director that had seen us in there before. And she was coming over there talking to us like, have you ever done stage work? Have you ever done this? Because like you hear his voice and you're just like, there's something going on here. There's talent there. So we ended up talking to her. Matter of fact, that's the lady I gave the American Airlines sweatshirt to. But it was so much fun. And I think we've made it fun. And so it seems a lot more interesting what I bought, or it felt more interesting to buy there because we were just cutting up, singing, having fun, going through things, throwing things to each other across the bins. I'm like, here, I got this for you. And he's like, here, I got this for you. So we just had a good time with it. And I think that's what it's about. It's like an interesting way to spend the day, or a few hours if you have it. So that's it. More on the bins if I go again. I am planning to go some more. Again, it's fun. It's, it's taking a break from how I normally spend my time. But again, I think for me, not going to be a real source for me for what I do regularly, but a nice kind of break if I just, want to kill some time. And certainly the Goodwill is doing what they can to, move all this merchandise along. I did ask a question of the guy. One guy was sitting outside the donation area of the Goodwill bins, because they have a regular store, the bins, and then an area to donate all together. And I said, what happens to the clothes that don't sell? I said, do you auction them off? And he said, no. I said, you're kidding. He goes, no. I said, well, what do you do? He says that we just recycle it back through. And I said, well, that's what I thought, because a bin would go out and come back in, and then I'd see something on it that I swore I already saw in there. And he goes, yeah, they basically never auction off the stuff per se, which I thought they were doing. For some reason in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, everything that's been through the bins is, the leftovers you would auction off by the pound for even less. Like, here's a pallet, how much would that be? But that's not what's happening, according to this gentleman. He says they just keep pushing it back in and back out, back in and back out, mixing in new things that have come in with the old things that are left over. And I thought that's a piece of news. So it explains why some of the things are in such bad shape, are still in there and haven't been, say, pulled out and thrown away yet. And so it really explains why you can find so many good things, like newer things, mixed in with this other stuff, because they're basically, according to this gentleman, kind of mixing it all together like a salad, like a little tossed salad of used clothes before they put it out. And believe me, it's such a feeding frenzy that I can see how things will get in your cart or get in your stuff, and that'll be that. Like, it'll just kind of slip in there. So you might be buying stuff by accident just because it's in there. As a matter of fact, something I was looking for, I didn't actually end up buying. And something my friend Michael bought, he thought was in his bag, he didn't end up buying. So you can see, even with all the careful we're trying to be, you can still not even get things you actually want. Oh, gosh. Anyway. So that's on the Goodwill bins. Now, I've got some really good topics coming up. Oh, boy. Have I had some interesting experiences with our good friends at ThredUp. And I cannot wait to report on those. I am waiting for a second situation, shall we call it, to be resolved. And depending on how it goes, I'm going to have some very, very strong words to say about ThredUp. Strong words, and they won't be good ones. We'll see how they resolve the second thing, but it has to do with using their authentication system and how that worked out for me, and the money that I lost as a result. We're talking 4 figures. Mm-hmm. All right then. So that's it. Thank you for listening to me. This is Jennie Walker, and this is JennieGirl's Closet. And I really appreciate you keeping up with what I have to say about the resale and consignment business. If you like what you heard, please give it a thumbs up, a like, a 5-star rating, a review. Tell your friends, share it on social media. Other people that might be interested in hearing about this topic. I am very open about my experience and very happy to talk about any of the things that I've been through. We're all learning, and I love it. I love the topic, and I love sharing it with all of you. Thanks again, and I look forward to having you join me on a future episode of Closet Conversations.